First of all, I'm going to get into a little bit more about the BBB and what we are. So we're an unbiased nonprofit organization that sets and upholds fair and honest business behavior. BBB's been around for over 100 years, and we have over 100 Better Business Bureaus in the United States as well. We have Better Business Bureaus in Mexico and Canada. This map here, I believe there's a laser pointer, or maybe, yes, here it is. Okay, so our region is all in yellow here. That's the Oakland BBB, where I'm coming from. That's our main office. I have extra business cards here as well, but if you didn't get one, but you can see our address. We're right downtown in Oakland, so we serve 13 counties from Del Norte County all the way up here near Oregon to San Mateo County. So we cover a lot of ground, a lot of consumers, a lot of businesses in that area as well. And we're helping consumers find businesses, brands, and charities they can trust. Some words associated with the Better Business Bureau are helpful, valuable, and trustworthy. I hope to explain a little bit more today why people would say that about us. And we're also the 119th most visited website ahead of BBC. Just a little fun fact for you. So, our mission is to be the leader in advancing marketplace trust, and our vision is an ethical marketplace where buyers and sellers can trust each other. And so this is our BBB Scam Tracker that I was kind of mentioning briefly. So our Scam Tracker compiles data from all over the country, and all over the world for that matter. We started in 2015, and as of, let's see, what day was this? As of March 12th, we had over 150,000 scams, so I imagine that number has already grown. So that tells you two things. In 4 years, we've had over 160,000 scams by now reported, but also we don't delete them. So we're always referencing other reports to see if there's kind of common themes throughout these scams that we find, whether it be robocalls, investment fraud, outsmarting and identity theft, things that I'll get into that are part of the top 10 list as well. So as you can see, it's a live interactive heat map. This is all online, so to access our BBB Scam Tracker, you go to bbb.org. And once you get to bbb.org, you would click on BBB Scam Tracker. It's right up there next to Oakland, CA. You click on BBB Scam Tracker, that would take you right to this page here. And then you'd be able to look up scams by keyword, by scam type, by country, by date recorded. And then down here it will tell you the date, scam type, postal code, dollars lost, and details. So you can look into the details of reporting. And of course, the more information, the better. If you think you've been a victim of a scam, you think you know somebody who's been a victim of a scam, we really highly encourage you to report it to us. That way we can know about it. We are a referral agency that we work with the FBI, FTC, lots of local media to help get the word out on prevalent scams, because that's the way to inform people, of course, is by keeping them educated. Yes, ma'am?
Is there any way to make that picture bigger?
This is just a screenshot, but
You can't enlarge it.
this is just...
I can't read the letters.
Oh yeah, no. What I encourage you to do is to go to bbb.org, and then in the top right of the website, type in BBB Scam Tracker, and then you can zoom into this map as well. You can zoom into our area here in California. You can look at the date, scam type, postal code, dollars lost, details, and have all the information. Then, as far as most other questions too, I'll be happy to take those at the end, because I know there's some questions that are personal for people as well. So how we measure our BBB risk index formula determining our top 10 scams is by exposure, susceptibility, and monetary loss. So exposure, how likely are you to be exposed to the scam? How likely is it to come across your path on an everyday, normal day? The susceptibility, how likely are you to fall for it? How convincing are these scams? I'll get into which scams are kind of more, people are more susceptible to fall to than others. And then of course the monetary loss, how much consumers are losing on average, which is always, a huge part of the scam itself is trying to compromise you financially, your identity as well, and trying to obtain that information and money from you. So that's something that we look into. We compile all this data, and then every March we come out with our reports as well in our top 10 list. So we let people know how things have changed, how things have stayed the same, and what's new. Because scammers are always adapting their techniques, right? So we need to make sure that we're adapting our ways of catching them and apprehending them as well. So before I get started with number 10, just an overall kind of note about scams. Marketplace scams represent a $50 billion drain in our economy. overall. So it's a huge issue, of course, that we're constantly looking into, especially even, as I mentioned, kind of new techniques such as cryptocurrency, which is a new form of ways that scammers and thieves can get people's money through, and also through cryptocurrency, because it's you hardly ever get your money back. It's very hard to trace as well. So that's just an example of how things are changing. And as far as our number 10 scam, it really speaks, it was already there. It already speaks to one of the main techniques that scammers use, which is impersonation. So with government grant scams, the three most impersonated organizations were number 1, IRS, number 2, U.S. government, such as the Treasury, Social Security, and Publishing Clearinghouse, which are usually involved in sweepstakes and lottery scams. And just as an aside, of course, if you win the lottery or you win a sweepstakes, you'll never have to pay. So we have a lot of golden rules to BBB. That's certainly one of them. If you win a sweepstakes or a lottery, you don't have to pay. You may get swept up in the emotion of being excited that you won all this money, but it's really important to just try to take a minute to think clearly and just realize that, for instance, you never have to pay for a price that you win, and the IRS will never call you, and then really our mantra is, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So we kind of rely on people to use some common sense as well, because scammers prey on emotions such as vulnerability, excitement, weakness, fear, so that's important to keep in mind when something out of the blue like this happens. Also, real grants won't require you to pay money along the lines of sweepstakes and lottery scams. And you can always check out a possible grant at www.grants.gov. So websites ending in .gov, .org, for instance, are reliable, reputable because they're through the U.S. government. That's a great place to start when checking to see if something is reputable or not. As far as the U.S. government, some of the branches that they'll impersonate is the Treasury, resources, Medicare, Social Security, so, all the main ways that they can really get into people's information. Next, we have our travel vacation scam. So this kind of goes in line with the sweepstakes and lottery scam, preying on people's emotions as far as being excited. As well, our top 4 narratives as far as stories that people would, or scammers would say that people have won. For instance, Bahamas, Mexico, Cancun, Disney, and Orlando, Florida. So those were 4 of the most common places that we found that scammers would use to try to trick people into giving up information. Also the idea that there's scarcity, there's only limited spots, you have to sign up now. Any kind of high pressure sales tactics as well. And that goes for timeshares as well. We find a lot of scam reports as far as timeshares and a lot of issues with maybe people trying to buy a timeshare, trying to sell their timeshare, and they don't do their due diligence, and it results in losing money as well. So just be mindful of that. If you're getting a call out of the blue, with the opportunity to go to one of these locations for free, or some kind of deal where if you sign up with the company and give them certain information that you can be entered to be in a contest to win a destination vacation or something along those lines. So once again, it's kind of just thinking to yourself, does this seem too good to be true? And travel and vacation scams are consistently in our top 10. Last year they were number 7, so it fluctuates a little bit, but it certainly has a high exposure rate, pretty high susceptibility rate, and then fairly high monetary loss when you factor in buying airplane tickets and everything else that goes into planning a vacation to one of these tropical or very luxurious locations. Number 8, we have investment scams. So for a lot of these scams too, a great technique is to ask questions that any reputable employer would know. So if you were to ask me about the Better Business Bureau, I could tell you it was founded in 1912 as the National Vigilance Committee, and then in 1914 became the BBB, and go on and talk about the company history, who our CEO is, questions that any reputable employer would know. That goes along with investment scams too. If somebody calls you out of the blue, you have every right to ask them who their CEO is, when the company was founded, where they're located, other details that only an actual employee would know as well. Sometimes they'll have convincing answers, but of course you can look up what they're saying if they're impersonating a reputable company You can ask to speak to somebody, speak to a manager, and cross-check that information. So really, along with all these scams too, if it's an actual legitimate business, they should have no problem getting back to you, or if you want to take some time to really research and do some more thinking on it. So that's something that's important to remember too. Any reputable company isn't going to force you into making a rash decision or have you give them their credit card information immediately. So think about that as well. Sometimes they'll also claim that they've done work with previous companies that you've done investments with is another technique. So they may claim to have some more background information on you, which will make you more likely to trust them. If they know so-and-so who I worked with before, then, of course, they're trustworthy and without even checking into the person that they claim to know as well. So that's another way you can kind of cross-check their information. As well, you can check finra.org, so another great resource, finra.org. They can look into investment companies as well, so another way of checking the information. Number 7, we have tech support. Has anybody gotten a call saying that the computer has a virus?
Oh,
yes. Yes, certainly. I had somebody, an attendee of one of my presentations, say that he got a call claiming that he had a virus on his computer. He hadn't even plugged it in yet. And so, of course, he was saying, no, you can't, my computer's not plugged in, there can't be a virus. What are you talking about? And the guy kept assuring him, no, sir, you definitely have a virus. You have an Apple. And he's like, well, I have a Macintosh. And so, he knew, or a PC, so he knew that it was actually false. So that's just an example. We hear lots of tech support scams. It was the second most common scam for people ages 55 and up. So we also have demographic ranges as well, as far as age. And oftentimes they'll call claiming they're from Apple or Microsoft, saying that you have a virus, or that they can sell you maybe a software license as well. For usually it's around $300, $500, which is the median amount of money lost. Another rule for this, of course, never give up control of your computer. Your computer and your cell phone, of course, are incredibly vital to your personal information, keeping that secret and not letting people compromise you financially and into your identity as well. Giving up your computer is essentially giving them access to all this information, passwords, banking information. There's no limits to what they can do once they have all your information in front of them. So you never want to give up information. If your computer is compromised or you do think you have a virus, even without somebody giving you a phone call and you're worried about your computer, you always want to take it into an Apple store or a PC store, a Microsoft store, whatever manufacturer makes your computer, to take it into that store directly. That way you can trust them, of course, and they know how to handle it. And unfortunately, they deal with a lot of similar cases, so they'll know how to help you in the best way possible. We also encourage changing passwords every 90 days, which seems a little tedious, but that is what's been recommended through many different organizations, such as Twitter, Equifax, some other companies that have had some issues with data breaches as well, to make sure that you're changing your password, keeping records of it. A lot of scammers and thieves are able to get people's passwords to important accounts just by merely going on their social media, saying their dog's name and the year they were born, and sometimes it can be that simple. So you want to have complex passwords with different uppercase, lowercase, special characters, and you can of course write that down somewhere, keep it in a safe, keep it somewhere secure, and just to make sure that everything that's on your phone as well and your computer it's safe and only you can access it. Number 6, we have romance scams, and I passed out a pamphlet to everybody. Fall in love, go to jail. I have more copies up here for people that didn't get those as well. So this is our newest study that we did in February, and it is on romance scams and how they're targeting specifically older people, elder adults, with these scams as far as carrying out these illicit activities. For instance, we've heard reports of somebody falling in love on a certain dating website with somebody overseas, and eventually the person will ask them to do some task for them. For instance, put on these pair of high heels and fly to a different country, or take this briefcase and drive it across state lines. And what ends up happening is the high heels may have like drugs in the heels, or the briefcase may be filled with illegal documents or something along those lines. So these older people that have been wooed by some other person claiming to be somebody else, asking to carry out these activities for them, which the older people end up getting arrested for, unfortunately, and the people that are behind the crimes don't get caught. So we're really trying to bring awareness to that. It's the most common scam for people age 65 and up, and people on average lost $2,500, which is one of the highest median amounts of money lost. Because even if you're not carrying out these illegal activities or illegal tasks that they have you, a lot of people end up just sending money to these people because they fall in love with them, and they'll have these very believable backstories, such as I'm in the hospital or my mom needs assistance, and they'll continue funneling money to these people until, you know, some people lose their life savings, of course, doing this. So we're really encouraging dating websites, and we're working closely with them as far as bringing awareness to make sure people are verified, that they can't continue to have these imposters go on these dating websites and dupe people into, you know, getting arrested overseas, and not only that, just sending them money, especially over wire transfers, as we found. As I mentioned with cryptocurrencies, wire transfers are nearly impossible to get your money back, especially overseas. So that's a red flag. If people are asking for wire transfers or prepaid gift cards, those are essentially just cash. Next, we have advanced fee loans. So in this case, they may end up asking you, you know, after kind of convincing you that they know your information and your background information, they might ask you for information on access to your bank account once you think that they're trustworthy. But once again, along with you know, with government grants, you can check out where they do business as well. A big red flag is that they only have a PO box, of course. So we find that as well. People aren't paying enough attention, and it turns out they don't even have a real address. They have a PO box, and so that can be a suspicious sign that they are actually a scam business. You can also check the loan broker's registration. So there's all these different websites that you can check, such as, you know, you can check FINRA, you can check their loan broker's registration. So different government websites where if they're not on there, it's a pretty sure bet that, in fact, that they are up to something, or at least you can come to us at the BBB, ask us about the company, and we can look into it as well before you do business and give up your hard-earned money to a company you're not sure about. This is also more typical for people starting off in life. Of course, you know, when you're starting off in life, you may need some extra help, and they may offer you this really sweet deal, which is also how they'll entice people. So that's something to look out for. It had a high risk index as well, so this does happen a fair amount, unfortunately, which is why it's at number 5. It's typically in the top 5 or 6. Number 4, we have home improvement scams. Unfortunately, we see a lot of these scams after natural disasters. For instance, the devastating wildfires we've had the past couple of years. That brings out a lot of door-to-door contractors, people saying that, you know, I can fix your house, I just need a third of the payment or half of the payment now, and I'll come back with my materials to do the job. And of course, they give them the check and they never hear from them again. So once again, right, that's preying on people's emotions. They're vulnerable. They're in a bad state. They've just lost maybe all their belongings, or, you know, have gone through a traumatic time, and so scammers know to take advantage of that. So look out for door-to-door contractors, regardless if there's a natural disaster or not. You can check even their vehicle to see if they're marked with the BBB logo, the torch logo, which you'll see at the bottom right of all our slides and on my business card. You can look on their business card as well to see if they have the torch logo. You can check their contractor's license at cslb.gov, California State Licensing Board.gov, cslb.gov, and you can find out all the information on them to make sure their license is renewed. And as far as BBB accredited contractors for plumbing, yard work, whatever have you, home repair, that you can rest assured that they are vetted, that they are trustworthy if they are BBB accredited, because we are constantly vetting these businesses, especially contractors, to make sure their licenses are up to date, that they're you know, very transparent in their business dealings as well, that they're not hiding anything, that you can see all the information you would need before making a decision on hiring somebody too. So yeah, door-to-door contractors, just in general, you want to look out for them as well. And certainly you can ask as many questions as you want to, never feel pressured, which is something that they rely on. Number 3, we have a fake check and money order scam. So This check may be a little too obvious, of course, but a lot of these checks can be very convincing. In November, I believe it was, we had a fake check money order scam press conference, which was before our romance scam press conference. And this topic, we brought in a student actually from Oakland who had gotten an email through her school's employment office saying that she had an opportunity to do a car wrap. Has everybody seen those cars with advertisements wrapped around the car? So that's a way of her to get some extra money while she was going to school. You know, she doesn't actually have to do anything, just drive around. So they sent her a check for $2,500 to buy the materials and to wrap her car. When she got the check, they contacted her after saying, "Oh, sorry, we miscalculated. Why don't you spend $1,500 and just send us the other $1,000 back? We apologize." So she deposits the $1,500, goes out, buys all the materials, sends them $1,000, and doesn't realize that you need 2 weeks before you can realize that your check bounced. And sure enough, the check bounced, and there was no way to get her $1,500 back that she'd spent, and that's money that she had planned to use towards paying off her student debts as well. So not only is she, was she even further behind paying her student debts, but now she has to deal with this legal battle as well. So we had her come in and speak to the media and talk about how it can really happen to anybody. And like I mentioned, it came through her school's employment office, unfortunately, too. So you really do need to have a lot of discretion in what you're opening, what you're looking through, and especially just, with a check, you can deposit it, but certainly you want to wait 2 weeks to make sure it's legitimate. There's also other things you can look for, of course, like, is the bank on the check, does it have an address? The check that she had actually only had a P.O. box as well, so that's obviously a red flag to look out for. So this was the number 5 scam last year, number 3 this year, so we think part of it has to do with just people not being as savvy with checks nowadays in general. Just, as far as tangible pieces of paper, it's kind of, a lost thing in today's day and age. So just making sure that young adults too are very aware of what these fake checks look like, what a real check looks like, where they would see the routing number, where they would see the check number itself, and how they can identify how many digits they need to do as well. So that's an example of what we need to teach people. And it's most common for people ages 18 to 34. So they are targeted because scammers know that they tend to not know what to look out for and how to identify these fake checks as well. So that's something that, we also rely on word of mouth as far as, consumers talking to friends and family, letting people know what to look out for, what are prevalent scams, what you've heard here today, what you've learned throughout your life. Because certainly I was taught when I was 16 how to balance a checkbook and stuff like that. I'm very thankful, and because of that I kind of know what to look out for as far as checks and just how to be careful with them as well. So number 2 was actually our number 1 scam last year. With everybody kind of going towards online purchases, it's not too much of a surprise that it's this high up. It has a huge exposure factor. Nearly everybody shopping online is exposed to it because scammers rely on people going after the lucrative deals. Once again, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is, but that won't stop people from buying $5 Ray-Ban sunglasses that turn out to not be actually Ray-Ban sunglasses. So, for instance, if you're on the website and you see this great deal, scroll to the bottom of the website, and at the bottom, any reliable, reputable website should have contact information, perhaps a Norton antivirus secure logo to make it so it's secure, maybe a BBB accredited logo as well. In the URL, the web address, you want to make sure that it says HTTPS. The S stands for secure. You also want to look for a lock icon. Now the difficult part with that is scammers are able to buy these lock icons as well, which can deceive you. So it may look like a legitimate website with the lock icon and everything, when in fact it actually is a fake Amazon website, for instance. So great thing to do, of course, is to, if you found a product that you really like and you think it's on Amazon, but you're not actually sure if you're even on Amazon, you may have been clicking through a few things, open up another window or another internet site, type in Amazon, type in that same product, and see if it's the same. That's all and that goes for a charity or anything that you're looking up where you may have kind of gotten lost and you're not exactly sure if you're on the actual legitimate website. Open up another web page, go to Google, type in the website, and make sure you're on the legitimate, correct page as well. Never rush to buy anything, and make sure you're sure of where your money's going. And that certainly we find a lot of charity impersonators that may have a website that says Red Cross, REDCROSS, and they have 3 S's. And look, the website looks exactly the same. People go through, donate, and not till after, when they don't get a verification email, that they realize that they've donated to the wrong website. So just as far as being online in general, online purchases, donations, anything that involves monetary transactions, you really just want to look out for red flags, no contact, no customer support, unusually low prices, for instance, and we see a lot of these advertisements that are on social media. The Ray-Ban scam that I mentioned was through Instagram primarily, where if you're scrolling through social media, then you see a link that looks really good, you might just click on it through your cell phone, and it could lead you to not an unlegitimate website. And number 1, we have employment scams. So employment scams were actually number 3 last year, but it jumped up primarily, once again, due to just lack of knowledge, especially for people, once again, in the ages of 18 to 34. So, for instance, a lot of people are really interested in working from home. I mean, who wouldn't want to work from home? Your commute is from your bedroom to the living room. You can talk to people on the phone. You can do your work over your computer. It is feasible nowadays, of course, but scammers rely on this. So as I mentioned with the fake check money order scam, this will also happen a lot with these employment scams as well, where you may apply for a job and you may have very little to no verification or interview process whatsoever, which is obviously a red flag. The company may say, well, you sound great, we're ready to hire you, here's the money to go buy a laptop, some desk supplies, some office supplies for working at home. So once again, it's that same thing where they'll ask you to deposit some of the money, send some of the money back, and by the time you deposit the money, not only are you out of money and you're still looking for a job, but you've been scammed, and now you have to deal with getting your finances in order, canceling all your credit cards, and just kind of starting the process over again too. So we found this most common for people aged 18 to 34. It's most prevalent through email as well. So a lot of companies will a lot of scammers will impersonate bigger companies too. And in fact, we have a lot of companies that we found that aren't actually scam artists, but they will have prospective employees do entire projects for them. So you may have a company say, we'd like you to put together this PowerPoint for us on this subject, and you have a week to do it, do your best, send it in to us, and we'll evaluate you after that. In which time they turn in this really well done PowerPoint, the company takes it and uses it to their own advantage, essentially for free labor. So that's not exactly illegal, and not exactly a scam, but it's something else that we found too, which is just really unfortunate that companies are trying to take advantage of people looking for jobs, and vice versa as well. We've seen a lot of potential employees get scammed, or scam the companies because they don't ever call them back. So it's really just kind of a very interesting time as far as employment in general, with so much of it done remotely, and a lot of companies do phone interviews before they even do in-person interviews, because they have so many candidates to filter through. Your resume may be just going through a computer, in which it looks for keywords in your resume for recruiters. So the landscape of employment is changing a lot, which is why we're trying to keep up to date. And they'll offer upfront fees for equipment, training, testing, background checks. So they may ask you to send them money just to even be considered for a job. Which, once again, just like winning the lottery, just like any other prize, you never have to send money to a company for them to evaluate you. And sometimes if people are desperate as well, they may not be thinking clearly and end up falling for it as well. So make sure you do research on the company first. Once again, you can look out to see, does the company have an address, phone number, what contact information. One second, sir, I'm almost done. And then we have this new service as well where you can text the word "Start with Trust" to 31996. This is a new text message service that we have. So you get maximum 4 messages, so no more than 4. It's not going to blow up your phone and harass you or anything. There's enough robocalls out there, we know. So you get 4 message alerts a month. You can unsubscribe at any time as well. And message and data rates may apply as well, but once again, you can cancel at any time. This is kind of another way of us letting consumers know about prevalent scams and how you can be aware of them. So we're proud of this kind of new updating process. We also have 7 social media platforms that we're on to update consumers and businesses as well. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Snapchat, YouTube. So we're on all those different platforms, especially Twitter. We're constantly posting business updates for tips on small businesses all the way up to huge businesses such as Facebook, and just kind of other prevalent things. We also do topical press releases. I just did one on hiring a contractor, so what to look out for, how you can check their license through CSLB, so you can look for updates that way as well. And then I passed out my business card to everybody, so you have my name, my phone number, my email, where our office is located. Yes, ma'am?
Is it CSLB.gov?
CSLB.gov. CSLB.gov, precisely.
Okay.
And then this is my information. You have business cards. Paul is going to do me a huge favor and pass out more as well. So that's where our office is located. Of course, you guys are welcome to come into our office, speak to somebody directly, and it's always good to talk to somebody as well. So let's say you have a concern and you'd rather talk to somebody than file a complaint online. Feel free to give me a call, and I can put you in contact with the correct person in the correct department.